So humans are the only species on Earth, as far as we know, right, that have the capacity to plan for tomorrow. Uh, when I was back in, I want to say about 2019, I was looking at my PlayStation 4, and this is before I got involved in the whole community discourse around gaming. I was looking at my PlayStation 4 and I was thinking to myself, what do I want it to actually do? What do I want the PlayStation 5 to do? Because for me, considering the fact that we kind of know the cadence at which these consoles are going to be released, I think it just lends itself to some kind of prediction, right? Like we none of us have a crystal ball, but we each do our best to, simulate that feeling, to see, if we're right. It's an intellectual exercise. It can be fun, it can be speculative. I think it's really enjoyable for a lot of us, especially a lot of us that listen to YouTube videos around gaming. We listen to creators, we listen to people share their thoughts, to gamers and everything, to these companies and these executives kind of put things out there, breadcrumbs for us to follow. So before going into any of that, I wanted to ask myself, and this is the same process I do with my cameras, right? Like I asked myself, okay, if I want to buy the Sony A7R Mark 6 or Mark 7, what would I want it to improve? Like, what do I need out of it so that it justifies the purchase, right? So there were a few things. I wish I had the sheet the way I actually wrote everything down, but I don't. But there are a few things that I do remember from memory that I said looking at my PlayStation 4 before any rumors, because I wasn't paying attention to rumors or any online discourse about the PlayStation 5. So before anything was announced, these are things that I wanted. Number one, this is in no particular order, by the way, but the very first thing that I wanted was for it to be quiet. I wanted it to be a quiet system. The PlayStation 4 never got loud for me, because by the time it was getting loud, I replaced it with the PlayStation 4 Pro, which I won through a contest. Um, but then towards the tail end of the PlayStation 4 life cycle around 2019, mine started getting loud. Eventually I think I opened it up and I cleaned the fan and I got it kind of back on the normal volumes again, but it was starting to get really high. My friends though, he had the PlayStation 4 from launch, from the get go in 2013, and his was a jet engine. Like every time we would play online together, you could literally hear it. It sounded like bad central heating. It was awful, awful noise. So I wanted it to be quiet. Um, and I thought that what they should do is over engineer it or overbuild it. Or actually, the way that I thought they were going to manage it was to have multiple fans in it. Because on my PC, I have 10 fans. All of them run at really low RPM, as low as I can get them to, basically, in order to minimize the noise from each. And all of them, I think, okay, most of them, I want to say three of them are 140 millimeters, and maybe the other six or okay, six of them I think are 140, and I think the other four are 120 millimeter fans. So that was the way I thought they would solve it. I thought they should have one or two really really big fans, or a whole lot of smaller fans in there. I wanted it to be quiet, and I thought that the size should increase. The next thing that I wanted is I wanted better graphics, but I wasn't exactly sure where it was going to come from. The one thing that I did know was that I wanted better lighting. Um, Back in 2013, I wasn't a photographer. So I think I got my PlayStation 4 in 2015 anyway. Like I didn't get it right away. But somewhere between 2014 and 2015, I think is when I got my PlayStation 4. And then somewhere between 2015 to 2016 is when I kind of got my first real camera. So as I was using, playing the games on PlayStation, I was paying a lot more attention to lighting, especially when we got photo modes. Remember when photo modes became a thing? At first, I dismissed them completely. Like in Uncharted, I don't think I ever used the photo mode in Uncharted 4. But then, as it became more and more sophisticated, as it became more streamlined, and as they gave you more and more freedom, and also more kind of like real life photography, um, like similarities. I started paying a lot more attention to photo modes and therefore the lighting, and I started to see the game more as I would from a photographer's eye than from a gamer's eye. In fact, when I first thought about doing my YouTube videos, I thought that I should do virtual photography classes, to basically be like, okay, let me teach you real life photography using virtual photography, using the games in front of you. I'm always playing around with the idea in my mind. In fact, the only reason I haven't done it is simply out of laziness. J'ai la flamme. I don't, I don't really want to do it because it will require a lot of editing. It will require some kind of capture card and everything like that. I suppose if I invested in PC gaming, for those games that I'm interested, like for example, I could get Horizon Zero Dawn or Horizon Forbidden West. Um, and they have a pretty good photo mode. Death Stranding also has a really great photo mode that you could use to again kind of like give a really good almost one-to-one comparison as to the nature of the settings in the camera and kind of finding a good angle. Definitely framing will be a good thing. You could do a lot with that. I'm sure there's some creator out there that is using virtual photography through video games to actually teach real life photography to people, but it's always been an idea. Anyways, point is, I thought for better graphics, that we should get good lighting, better lighting, more realistic, because lighting in real life, especially when you think about capturing the light, and so you're really focused on like the colors and the gradation and many of the aspects that make light what it is, especially in relationship to a camera. Um, it's very subtle. It's very nuanced. It's very subdued, and it's a combination of these things that can sometimes kind of explode in vibrancy, but it doesn't feel like nature forces itself to be a particular color in order to capture your eye. It's really like you can look at the color and you will see a lot of nuance within, shades and tints within that color, and you realize that it's not just like a single block of color or a single spectrum, but it's actually just a whole lot of variety, and that's what your eyes enjoy. So I thought lighting should improve. The other thing that I knew should improve was travel speeds. I remember watching a video about how racing games fake speed by adding effects on screen to make you feel like you're going faster. So really, like you, let's just say as an example, I don't remember where the video was and I haven't looked it up. Let's just say as an example that in a video game they can legitimately take you to 60 kilometers per hour. Beyond that point, games, because they were limited by hard drives and before that they were limited by other technologies, what they will do to make you give you a sense of more speed instead of actually physically traveling faster through the world or through the map, what they will do is that they will increase motion blur. They will add those little effects that we all associate with speed that are supposed to be like wind or whatever. Um, they will distort things at the edge of the frame. They will use all of these visual tricks to make you feel like you're going faster without actually moving your car faster. Or some of them will obviously change some of the gameplay mechanics, so that your car might skid a little bit more or take longer to brake or whatever it is that they needed to do. And of course, there'll be like a big speedometer that convinces you, like, hey, this is 330 kilometers per hour. You're going so fast. And I thought, well, how wonderful would it be if we didn't have to use those tricks? If you could actually stream assets fast enough to be able to show it. Another thing that I really wanted to get rid of was popping. Okay, I think popping it's like seeing a typo in a book to me. It's so jarring because it's like, why is it popping in? You put this asset here. You knew the streaming speed that you could load assets at. Why is it that I'm seeing this shrub go from like a single stick to like a branch in a desert to something with foliage, and then suddenly it's like an entire like baobab tree and it's like hundreds of miles long? Like, why am I seeing that process in front of my eyes? By the time it comes to my view, it should just be what it is, right? And obviously I'm not so much critical of popping that is really really far away at the edge of what you can possibly see. I understand. I mean, ideally, even that will be fully rendered, but there's leeway to be afforded there. But for example, the way that Horizon Forbidden West released at first where it was like entire structures literally appear like 3 feet away from you. That didn't feel good. So by the way, I'm just gonna note this down so that we can talk about it in detail. So I say that I want it to be quiet. You can tell how much preparation I've done for this video, right? I say that I want it to have better lighting. I'm saying popping now. And then I said speed as well, a good sense of speed. Okay, so yeah, talking about popping, I don't mind the popping that is super far away at the edge of what is the visible spectrum, of what is in front of you. Again, ideally, we would have gotten rid of it, but we should definitely not have the things that are spawning 1, 2, 3 meters away from you. Things that are just down the road popping in. I just find that jarring. The same way that I find a typo in a book jarring. Especially when it happens a lot. Some games had a lot of popping. Where even some of the best games had a lot of popping. Or even if it's not popping in, the whole dynamic kind of like texture. What do they call it? Essentially, when the closer you get to an object, the more textures and the more higher fidelity those textures are. I forget exactly what that is. It's a form of popping, but it's like the basic geometry is there. It's just that it gets more and more detail. It's a level of detail, LOD, right? The LOD settings. I thought that the LOD settings should pretty much be at max all of the time, or at least the difference between the lower setting and the higher setting should be subtle enough that you really have to look in order to catch it. And when I played things like even God of War 2018, there were quite a few parts where it was like, that texture loaded it like 7 minutes later, like than it should have. But these are games that are even excellent. These are not like third-party games where they might not have had all of the time to do these things properly. But these are like, no, anyone that plays those games on the PlayStation 4 would say that they are some of the best examples, of what we could do technically. But still, there were, immersion breaking things happening in regards to popping and LOD. So those were some of the things that I thought about. Let me think if there was anything else, like a criteria that I really wanted gaming to improve on in order to convince myself of what the PlayStation 5 should deliver to me. I didn't think a lot about audio. It's something that I think I should talk about in the next segment. But it's something that once I heard the audio from PlayStation 5, I was like, okay, well, there's the difference. I should have thought about it. That was a pleasant surprise. What else did I didn't think a lot about frame rates. Okay, so that is another one that was surprising. I didn't think a lot about frame rates because I had not really been a person that played on PC. In fact, back then, I didn't really have an issue with PC gaming because I didn't do much of it. It's incidentally in between then and now that I've tried PC gaming and I just absolutely hate it for myself. So that is what it is. I didn't think a lot about 4K because back then I didn't have a TV on my own, so I would play on my desktop monitors in front of me here, and these were 1080p panels, so I didn't really prioritize 4K. I knew that it would have some kind of 4K output, but I certainly didn't tie it to like, oh, it needs to be 4K at 60 frames per second because, like I said before, I didn't think about the frame rates, so I didn't really think a lot about resolution. What else did I think about? Quietness, better lighting, less popping, a faster sense of speed and movement. Oh, one thing that I thought about was AI. I think that outside of something like The Last of Us Part 2 and the machine AI for Horizon, it's really hard to find examples of really smart, intelligent AI. So I definitely thought that, hey, you know what? Our AI, and by then in 2019, The Last of Us Part 2 wasn't even out, so I didn't like know of that example. I had played Zero Dawn, and Zero Dawn, I was impressed by the AI of the machines. I was also impressed by the range at which these machines could go and follow you on the map. And I remember thinking to myself, like, wouldn't it be fun if there was a game where a machine like a stalker in Horizon Forbidden West could literally stalk you throughout the entire map, right? Unless you were to like fast travel away or something like that, where it will break that connection. But I thought like, hey, what if I went into the forest and a stalker got track on my tail, and let's say that we were fighting back and forth or I was running back away, and then I go into a settlement, and then it literally waits outside, right? The settlement, and if I come back to the same exit, it picks the chase up again, which obviously is not something that has happened so far in games. But I just thought, I think emergent AI was definitely something that I thought about. Another thing that I thought about a lot, because I'm a Battlefield Bad Company 2 fan, is that I thought that a lot of shooter games should implement destruction into the environment. This whole notion of, let's say in a Battlefield game, and you have, tanks and planes and missiles and bombs and things and grenades and C4, that you should not be able to like raise the map to the floor. I think that's nonsense. Like, it's your battlefield simulator. If in real life we can knock down every single building, for whatever reason, whether that is statically sound or not, I think that you should be able to pulverize every every building that is in the way. I think you should be able to break up our walls, bring that buildings just like you used to be able to. I don't think that makes it the map boring. I think it makes the map dynamic. I think it makes the gameplay emergent. Maybe I want to be a sniper, but there's a particular building blocking my line of sight to an area of importance. So I send my squad to be able to blow up that building so that I have a better, sniping opportunity. I think it would just be cool to have that in games. And that is not necessarily something that I needed the PlayStation 4 to do, because the PlayStation 3 did it with Battlefield Bad Company 2. But it was definitely something where I thought, gameplay wise, I want more games to implement destruction, or even single player games. Like, again, let's take a Horizon game where I have an open map. It's a single player game, and I fight in the forest. Maybe as part of that fight in the forest, I cause a huge fire, but then what if that fire didn't just stay for the instance, that moment that I'm in that map, when I load it, when I come back and it's back to normal. But what if it was more persistent? Like, what if you create a fire in the game, the area remembers it, quote unquote, for like 10 in-game hours, the real life equivalent. What I'm saying is that for the next 10 hours, real life hours that you play the game, you will go back and you will see the effect of that change. Maybe that tree that got fallen or felled, that tree that got felled, yeah, or that forest that got burned, or whatever it is, right? And then eventually you will see like different states where the forest is quote unquote recovering. It would be cool. It would be cool to be able to be like, let's say in a game like Monster Hunter, if you like throw an enemy, through a whole, section of, I don't know. Again, I'm just thinking about trees because, it's a natural environment. But let's say you just like knock them all down, and then for like, you come back like 60 hours later and you see most of those trees still knocked down, because again, let's just imagine that Monster Hunter was a single player only game, that it will have that kind of memory. So I thought that would be cool, or in Spider-Man, let's say that a bank does actually get robbed, and you send a car through a particular building. How cool would it be if you actually came back like an hour later and you see like the demolition crews and the firefighter crews remove this car and kind of start fixing up the facade and everything. I just thought those would be cool ideas, but those are kind of like fringe ideas, things that would be cool if developers had the time to do it, but obviously not necessarily a limitation of the hardware. So those were some of the thoughts. So I'm going to just stop there. I wanted it to be quiet. I wanted better lighting in games. I wanted faster speeds in games. I wanted to reduce popping and level of detail changes. And I wanted better AI, just especially for combat's sake. So I would say that if you were to compare the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5, I think the PlayStation 5 delivers on most of these things, and it adds a few things on top that I didn't see coming. So one thing is that it is quiet. I've never heard my PlayStation 5. I've only cleaned it once, and that was only because I was cleaning around it, and I thought, you know what, I may as well. Never really like needed a deep clean or anything like that. But like I've never had a reason. It's never got a ladder. I'm like, okay, it's time to clean it. It's just been one of the things where I'm just like, hey, you know what? I'll take the extra step today. So I think I've only cleaned it once, maybe twice. Okay. The lighting in games, ray tracing was kind of the solution to that, right? At least it's a technology that is meant to make lighting better. Now, I would say that with ray tracing, it is a real difference. But what I have been disappointed by with ray tracing in this generation is that we are still picking and choosing which ray tracing elements to implement, right? Outside of a game like Spider-Man 2, which is fully ray traced, most games will have something like, okay, you have ray trace reflections, or you have ray trace shadows, or you have ray trace ambient occlusion, or you have ray trace, character hair or whatever. Like they're taking elements of the lighting equation and they're making that ray traced. So often that is like the best version or the best technology for that lighting of that particular aspect. But when it comes to things like ray trace shadows, apparently those are really, really intensive. And so most developers have chosen not to fully implement ray tracing. Instead, they use other kinds of global emulation and everything. And that's fine. But I think that the full ray trace suite is just, man, it's just a lot more convincing. Like for example, Horizon Forbidden West doesn't use ray tracing, and the lighting in it is fantastic. But there's times when I'm looking at water surfaces and I'm looking at the angle of attack that I'm looking at it at, and I'm like, I should be able to see a lot more in this reflection. Like there's a lot of information missing. Like water at this angle for this amount of let's say low movement, because for water to behave like a mirror in real life, it has to basically not be moving or to minimize the amount of waves on that water. The more still and steady and quiet or static the water is, the more it behaves like a mirror. So there's times where I find, a little part of water in Horizon Forbidden West, and I look at it at an angle where I know that in real life it will behave almost like a perfect mirror, and it just doesn't. So it's like, man, it would be cool if you had the ray trace reflections, right? But even with a fully ray traced game like Spider-Man, what you find is that the ray trace quality isn't mirror like. It's not as good. You don't get that sharpness. You get something that's like, if you look into the technical definitions, you will see that, oh look, most of the world is rendered at like 1800p, and then the ray trace reflections are like 400p. So it's like it gives you an impression of what's supposed to be there, but it's almost like you're looking at it through a muddy mirror or a murky mirror, and it's okay. It's a step in the right direction, but I have to say that better lighting has definitely been overall a disappointment. Ray tracing is the promise of that being fulfilled, and we are seeing that being fulfilled, but it feels to me that it won't be until the PlayStation 6 or maybe even the PlayStation 7 where ray tracing is in most games, and it is used in a way that is complementary to pretty much all aspects of the lighting, I guess, subsystems. So yeah, that one, bit iffy. Okay, speed. I've been disappointed by this one too. I think very few games, quite honestly, because of the whole PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 cross generation, but very few games have actually given like a true sense of speed. Like even when I watch or I play Gran Turismo 7, the faster cars, they don't feel that much faster to me. Like it doesn't feel fast. Like when I'm in the car, the fastest speed I've done in the car on a public road, oh, should I even be saying this? On a private road has been like a maybe 180, 190 kilometers per hour. The sense of adrenaline, the sense of tunnel vision, the sense of I don't know. It takes you. It's visceral. It's visceral in a way that that these games just don't communicate. In these games, it's almost calming. It's like I feel like I'm driving at 90 k's an hour, even though my speedometer in Gran Turismo is telling me I'm going at 250 k's per hour. Like I remember I was around. I think it's the Daytona Oval or something. I think it's called Daytona in Gran Turismo. But it's basically just a giant oval, or maybe it's Speedway. I think it's Speedway. Yeah, I think it's Speedway. Sorry, I don't play Gran Turismo enough to remember all of the maps. But anyways, it's the one where it's basically he's got two straights and then it's an oval shape. But it looks like a pill. And it's the fastest track because it has like the longest straight and you can, it's banking and everything. And when I'm taking like a Formula One car or just something that's really, really fast and I'm putting the pedal to the metal, past 90 k's an hour, it kind of feels the same to me. If I ignore some of the things that the game tries to do, like shaking, the car a little bit to make you feel like you're going fast, it just doesn't feel, it just doesn't give me something visceral. Honestly, I understand people that want to drive on tracks in real life because when you're allowed to go at like 200 plus k's an hour, man, it's a completely different feeling. Like you feel different. You feel like you're actually racing. There's a reason that they call it, a motorsport because it feels that way. So yeah, sense of speed, nah. The only game that has given me a sense of speed where I was like, damn, this is what I need more of is Spider-Man 2. I still remember that first mission, the opening, where you are fighting against the Sandman, and this guy flings you across the city, and I was like, oh my god, this is it. This is actually the SSD being utilized to show a sense of speed. And the way you just get back to him, like, just as quickly, I was like, yes, we need more of these. Now, obviously, this is because, again, most of the games have been cross generation so far, but even third party games that are not cross generation, they have not really, I don't think they've really maximized on the speed of the SSD. And perhaps this is because they have to compensate for, PCs, which a lot of them will still be using hard drives and everything like that. But yeah, sensor speed has been definitely hit or miss. But I will say that Spider-Man 2 gives me hope that more developers are going to incorporate real speeds. Like, for example, if you use, whether you're using the what is it, Horizon Forbidden West, whether you're using the mounted machines or the flying machines, the speed of those machines, it's barely faster. In a real way, it's barely faster than just running across the map. And because you have pretty much infinite stamina in that game when you run, it just it's hardly, like, if you find yourself without a machine that is currently overridden, it can feel like, am I really gonna go and look for this specific type of machine that I can mount so that I can override it and then get across the map, or is it just better to just fast travel? Oh, to be fair, one thing in terms of speed that has improved is fast traveling. Fast traveling is, I mean, that is night and day different. Which is part of, this is actually, yeah, it's fair to say that it is part of speed, and it's part of the SSD, and this has been just tremendous across the board, first party and third party. So I guess I should have separated it between the speed of your character in the map versus the speed of like fast traveling, because fast traveling and dying and respawning and things like that, those have tremendous, I mean, it's like, it's ridiculous. It's almost embarrassing that we used to put up with a fast travel system that would take 40 seconds to load an objective. Like The Witcher 3, oh my god, The Witcher 3, fast traveling in that thing, bro, you could fall in love with a stranger in that time. Like, it's just, it was so long. It was so long. It was so incredibly long. Terrible. Terrible. So you know what? I think speed is done well. It has done incredibly well at fast travel, respawning and loading up the map, and also getting to the game the first time and just starting. Like the fact that you can start your PlayStation from like a cold boot, and within like 27 seconds you're moving your character in the game. That's cool. But in terms of traveling through the map as a character, instead of actually having speed, having vehicles that travel really, really fast, and everything like that, that's been a disappointment. Again, I find that I pick on the Sony games for this because this is their console, this is their technology, and they have to show the industry what is possible so that the industry would then be able to develop their own techniques or follow suit or whatever. And at the end of the day, it's Sony that sells this product, and it's Sony that advertises these technologies like the SSD. So the onus is on them to justify it. Even if every third-party game got this right, but Sony didn't, it will still be an issue. Okay, in terms of the popping level of detail, I definitely think that in PlayStation 5 versions of games, it is less of an issue than PlayStation 4 versions. But there's still an amount of popping that is still relegated, I think, to the fact that a lot of these games are cross generation. And I think that we should, I think we will see ourselves naturally reduce this over time, because developers don't like poppiness either, just like any author doesn't like a typo. So I think that this one is not perfect yet, but it's going to get better. And then finally with AI, I think with AI, it might be the most disappointing of the bunch. The games that have had good AI, it kind of feels more like a natural extension of simply developer experience in that title, in that property. I don't think that we have seen like transcendent AI quite often. The Last of Us Part 2 has great AI, but that is a PlayStation 4 game, so that isn't a benefit of the generation. That's a benefit of the developer specifically. Um, but yeah, we haven't really seen AI that is pushing you or pushing the boundaries in a way that is somehow abnormal or somehow extraordinary quite often. Um, but I think again that as more developers will have more powerful hardware to reduce some of the frustrations in other areas, perhaps we can come back into a world where, kind of AI is again revolutionized so that we have more interesting gameplay options and everything like that. I also think that being able to destroy the map is a big part of what this should bring, because let's say that you are stuck in a room, but now you have in your toolkit an ability to blow a hole in the wall and be able to escape that room in a way that the AI wouldn't have been able to predict, because they wouldn't know that you would think of blowing the wall, but then the AI is able to react to that emerging gameplay opportunity that you just created. Hey, I think that would be cool also. So yeah, so I would say that overall, let me give this a rating. You guys tell me if you approve of the things, right? So I'd say when it comes to quietness, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I personally never hear my console. Maybe you do. It's far enough away for me that I don't, but for me, that's a 10 out of 10. For the lighting, I'm gonna give this one a 6 out of 10. I think that ray tracing is the thing that I was looking for, but I didn't know how to name back then. But it hasn't been fully implemented. Some games use it better than others. There's a huge performance cost, which usually means that for ray tracing, you have to sacrifice the extra 30 frames that you get from a performance mode. So I give it a 6 out of 10. Just, it's cool to be able to see what's coming up, but it hasn't blown us away. With speed, I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 because it's basically a 10 out of 10 when it comes to fast travel and reload speeds, but it's only like a 4 out of 10 when it comes to actually making vehicles go faster. Okay, with popping and level of detail, I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. I think that for PlayStation 5 native games, without any kind of cross-generational component, we've definitely seen popping and level of detail being a bit more consistent across games, at least the games that I've played. But, it is what it is. And then for the AI systems, I'm gonna give this one I think a 4 out of 10. I don't think that we have seen any kind of like really emergent dynamic AI that just couldn't be done on the PlayStation 4. Because even when I think about some of my favorite games that have really good AI to play against, that is fun to play against, take a look at God of War Ragnarok, or take a look at Horizon Forbidden West as my go-to examples. Those games exist on the PlayStation 4. So whatever AI thing they've done is just a natural progression of that studio and its talents, rather than the actual hardware component making the AI more possible or more believable or whatever. So I'm going to give this one a 4, maybe even a 3 out of 10. Let's give it a 4 out of 10. So if I add up everything out of 50 here, how well the PlayStation 5 kind of, I guess the PlayStation 5 generation has kind of lived up to what I wanted out of it so far. Let's take a look. So that would be 16, 23, 31, 35. So I have 35 out of 50, assuming that I calculated right. Which is, it's okay. It's definitely a passing grade, because 25 will be the halfway mark. So 35 out of 50, let me see, what would that be? Divide everything by 5, that would be 10, 7 out of 10. So that would mean that it is 70% what I want with the PlayStation 5 console. So that's interesting, isn't it? Because when you make a prediction, obviously I think I will want them to score a 9 out of 10. And perhaps a few of these things, for example, the speed, the AI, and the lighting will get better as the PlayStation 5 generation goes on. Okay, so things that surprised me with the PlayStation 5, we have the UI, right? The UI was surprising, but in a pleasant way. I like the PlayStation 5 UI more than I like the PlayStation 4 UI. But there are some idiosyncrasies about the PlayStation 5 UI that I feel that were already resolved in the PlayStation 4. And these are the things that kind of annoy me. I've never been a person that like is a stickler for like dynamic themes, but I understand why people want them. Um, but things that you're not able to put folders on the actual, I guess game bar or whatever. That's a problem. Like, let me yes have collections, but if I want to turn my collection into a folder, like have a shortcut, let me also do that. Uh, Let me just have a lot more flexibility with this. I think the UI layout is really, really good. I just think that the flexibility of it, sometimes they've made some decisions to prevent the user from making certain decisions that really wouldn't impact it too much. Um, I do like the fact the PlayStation Store is a lot faster to load though. That one's a huge win. That's a huge win. Um, I do like how capable it is. I like the fact that I can record in 4K for like an hour or something while still playing my game. The DVR in the PlayStation 5 is really, really great. And that's not something I would have thought to highlight until I remembered that on the PlayStation, so on the Xbox side, their DVR is garbage by comparison. So I guess it's cool that we have it. But they improved the audio. That's been good. The frame rate has been really surprising to me. 60 frames per second is a lot better than 30 frames per second. I would say that I haven't played any game in fidelity mode that had a performance mode, unless somehow it was a PlayStation 4 game and the fidelity mode is also 60 frames per second. But aside from that, yeah, I play at 60 or above whenever possible. The 4K has been nice, of course, but that was one of those things that even though I didn't think about at the time, it's kind of expected because there's no more 4K screens. I mean, the PlayStation 4 Pro was literally meant to answer that. They also came out PSVR 2. I'm not surprised that they came out PSVR 2, but it's pleasant to have it here. It's still not compelling enough for me to get, but I guess it's nice, I suppose. They came out with the PlayStation Portal, which again, it's nice. It's an accessory, but it's also just making more dedicated use of a technology that we've had since the PlayStation 3. We've had remote play for like 18 years on PlayStation, ever since the PlayStation 3 with the original PlayStation Portable, I think. So that is not it doesn't really count. But we've had a few surprises that are good. Okay, all of that was to say, I had expectations for the PlayStation 5 Pro, and I let them know on I let a lot of them out on PlayStation. Sorry, on Podworks podcast, 60 frames no lag. So if I recall, I was the first one to say that I put a okay. When I was doing the PlayStation 5, I never had any idea about the price tag, because for me, again, you guys know this about me. A company is allowed to charge whatever they want for the product, and I'm allowed as a customer to pay whatever I find to be acceptable. So for me, the price tag isn't really that big a concern, because all it has to do is be acceptable to me. And also, at least back then, I was still of the knowledge where I suppose I was operating under the presumption that these consoles would get cheaper over time. Obviously, this didn't pan out, but I had that presumption like, oh yeah, this will get cheaper over time. So it doesn't really kind of matter what the initial price is, because I could just wait a few years if I really wanted to. But the original price of the PlayStation 4, so PlayStation 5, was acceptable to me anyway, so that didn't end up mattering. But with the PlayStation 5 Pro, I put an emphasis on the price because I saw the price as a direct correlation to how much does it justify itself. Because if you have a PlayStation 5 Pro coming out at the same price as the original PlayStation 5, that means you've made no improvement. You're just giving me a PlayStation 5 in a different shell or something. So I knew that it had to be a substantial jump in price to be able to even have a shot at giving you even a minor jump in performance or something appreciable. It had to have a substantial price jump. And my simple philosophy was 1.5 times. Just take like most consumer electronic products that have some kind of market segmentation. Usually the next version up is at least 1.5 to 2 times the price of the base model. So for me, I knew it had to start between a $750 to $800 range. So that's why I was like, if it comes anything under this, I am not even interested, because it means you've done nothing with it. And again, I've been proven right on this point that the price mattered, because when it came to the Xbox Series X, when it comes to the 2TB version, that is $600. If you're going to be anywhere close to the original launch price by only being $100 away, you've done nothing other than something that I think isn't appreciable, which is just increase the storage. You could always increase the storage in the Xbox. You could plug in, a extended USB, not the cards that is sold, but the actual USB, like actual external storage that you use for your computer or something, and you could sideload all of your Xbox One and before games onto that, in order to reserve the pristine 1TB that they already gave you for your Xbox Series generation games. So for me, it was always like, I don't need you to build in this extra storage for me if you're going to charge me. Now, if you're going to release a 2TB Xbox, but then leave it at $500, then it's fantastic, right? You're basically getting more value for your dollars for free. But if you're going to charge me for it, I don't want to be charged for it. I don't want to be charged an extra $100 to just have an extra terabyte in there. It just doesn't make any sense, especially because the Xbox SSD that is built into the console is not as fast as the PlayStation equivalent. So that is what it is. But I always knew that the price had to be around $800, which it is once you factor in the fact that you are going to have to get the disc in order, because for me, guys, I'm a physical. I would never, when I think about the PlayStation 6, I don't picture the discless version or the digital version. I always picture the physical version. And I'm so tired of like how Americanized this space is, where everybody thinks that, oh, Sony is going to like abandon physical media. I'm like, are you crazy? Most of the rest of the world relies on physical media. Like, you're not the only fucking country on earth. Like, can you just like take your perspective out of America's asshole for like 1 second and think to yourself, oh, what does the rest of the planet do? But whatever, it's okay. It's just Americans being Americans. They just always think that it was always American, and then there's just like not America. So whatever. Okay, rent aside, I knew it was going to be between $750 to $800, so I was right on that one. Another thing that I wanted was 4K 120. And I've been here many times that I've said they need to have games at 4K 120, because I didn't put it on the box, because Sony put it on the box. And it's like, if you can't quite live up to it the first time, you definitely have to live up to it the second time. I've made this analogy before, but imagine that your girl comes home one day, okay, and you're playing on your PlayStation 5 Pro, okay, you're good, you're Gucci, you're playing your NBA or your 2K or your FIFA or your Last of Us, and you're just immersed, you're doing nothing, you're just being a good person. She comes in and she's like, I'm gonna blow your mind, and you're like, okay. And then she goes over there inside and she gets all dolled up, okay. She does everything, that thing that you like, she's even prepared to do that. And then everything else that everybody else would appreciate, she does that too. So she walks out looking like a stunner. She's got the stringers and the garnets and the corsets and the other ets that just look incredibly good. And then she's like, prepare yourself. You're about to get 4K 120 worth of sexual action. And you're like, damn, that's what I've always wanted. 4K 120 worth of sexual FPS. And then, right as she's about to begin, emergency calls. It could be work, it could be family, it could be whatever, okay? But she's not able to deliver that to you that day. She promised it, but she wasn't able to deliver it, okay? Then so she goes, you don't mind, you're not mad. You appreciated the fact that she even took the time to get dolled up and dressed up for you in the first place. You knew that her heart was in the right place. She just wasn't able to go through with it. It's no problem. You don't mind at all, right? But now imagine that a month later, she comes back and she's like, you know what? Let's do it. And you're like, whew, nice. And she's in sweatpants, and you're expecting her to do the same thing that she did before. Go and get the Mary Claire, go and get the Nivea, go and get the Cetaphil, and all of these skincare products to make her skin glow. You're expecting everything, You're expecting the concealer and the foundation and the lipstick and the lip gloss and the eyeliner and everything she did before to get dolled up. You're expecting the corsets and the garnets and the stringlets and the et. You're expecting everything that she did before. You're like, yes, this time I'm ready. And she's in sweatpants right now. And she just drops to the floor. And she's like, let me get started. You're like, no. What are you talking about? You failed the first time. You're about to give me the same package that you promised the first time before. That's how I feel about 4K 120. Sony failed the first time around the PlayStation 5. With the PlayStation 5 Pro, they had to deliver it. And again, they don't have to do it with every single game, but they have to at least do it a few times. Just like your girl will have to do it at least a few times a year for you to be happy. It doesn't have to be every single night that she gets dolled up like that for you. But a few special occasions, absolutely. So that's why I like 4K 120 on the PlayStation 5 Pro, which is actually what this conversation is about, not girls being dressed up or whatever. Okay. What did I predict? I wanted 4K 120. I did say that they needed to have an 8K game. Now, when it came to 8K, people stopped me in my tracks. They told me, Emmanuel, it's not a 4090. It's not a 4090. Well, how could you expect 8K? Again, I can expect it because Sony put it on the box. Okay? So, again, if your girl was like, I'm going to do that thing that you like that makes you kind of a freak, but it's okay because it's only between the two of you. Okay? And she promised you that on your special night? Yeah, you're going to want the same thing the second time, aren't you? You're going to be like, hey, that thing, we're doing that at the end. Don't even play with me. We're doing that 8K thing at the end, you freak. So, yeah, that's why I wanted 8K. And I got that delivered because Gran Turismo 7 will have an 8K mode at 60 frames per second, which I wasn't even expecting. That's I heard doing it twice. It's crazy. So, yeah, 8K already done. There were a few more predictions that I made. I think I was right on pretty much all of them. So it's been good. It's been good to see that all of my predictions for the PlayStation 5 Pro have been answered in a way that is even more faithful than my predictions for the PlayStation 5 base was. All of that to say, I want to talk about the PlayStation 6. Okay, I want to have this out here on my channel so that I can come back maybe 5, 6, 7 years from now and then see how the PlayStation 6 measured up to the predictions that I'm going to make today. And obviously I will make these predictions a few more times as I think about it more, as we think about it more as a collective, as gamers, and as we kind of start getting rumors and speculations, we will do the whole shebang. Let's talk about PlayStation 6. First thing, I want 4K 60 as the base mode. I don't want a single 30 FPS game on the PlayStation 6. Matter of fact, I think that outside of a narrative purpose or a stylistic purpose, or maybe where a person is like, I don't know, making you play fucking Pentiment or Flipbook the game or whatever, that there should not be any 30 frames per second games on the PlayStation 6 at all. At any resolution, I don't care. There shouldn't be an 8K 30. No, they're just 30 FPS should be banned. It should be a thing of the past. A little bit like black and white movies, I think, of the past. Again, if you want to go to like an artsy-fartsy little exposition, sure, you can have a black and white film. But for the mainstream, for the majority, for 99% of film and media out there that is shot out there, you're going to see it as a color film. And I think that's what should happen with 30 frames per second games. They should just be forgotten about. Like, if you guys have a child in this generation or like this year or the years that follow, that child should never naturally come across 30 frames per second games ever. They just should be 60 frames and up. So that's why I want 4K 60. Again, I've never cared about the technology. Like, if you make it checkerboarded, if you make it PSSR, if you make it AI driven, if you make it upscaled, if you make it downscaled, if you downsample it or you sample it or you whatever you do to it, just make it 4K 60 frames per second. Again, if you guys need a little MSI afterburner readout to be able to like be satisfied with your life as a gamer, maybe you've gone too far off the deep end. Like you don't need all of that, right? So again, I want 4K 60. The next thing that I want PSSR 3.0. If we are going to make such a big deal about PSSR, then not only should Sony introduce the technology in this generation, but they should refine it with a 2.0 update this generation, so that by the time we get to PlayStation 6, it should be at version 3.0, because any technology that is worth buying into should be bought into by the customer or the consumer or the client at the third iteration. That's where it's actually delivering something truly magical and something that actually answers the original vision. The first version is always just a proof of concept, okay? That is just to prove that there is a market demand for this thing, that it does answer that demand, that it provides a solution to this problem that you imagine was there. The second version is what the first version would have been if you were sure of those answers in the first place. Like if you knew for certain that there was a market demand or something like that, the second version of the product is what you would have made the first version. You would have invested that extra money to make it that. But since you were not sure, the first version is what's known as a minimum viable product. You just put it out there so that you will be able to, again, prove that there is this demand, that there is this, that this is financially viable and everything like that. So that's the second version. The third version is a one version that actually starts to fix things. That's the version that is actually undeniable, and everything like that. So that is why I want it to be a PSSR 3.0 by the time that we go to the PlayStation 6, so that we can just hit the ground running. Okay, I want to have the same UI. Now, this might be controversial because I'm pretty sure every PlayStation generation released so far has had a unique and drastically different UI. Certain elements since the PlayStation 3 have kind of stuck around. However, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to do the whole rigmarole of going around and, just reselling things back to zero. I don't want to do that. Going back to square one, where certain things like folders, and themes are questions that we have to answer yet again. Like imagine that, I don't know, next year in 2025, we finally get dynamic themes back, and these dynamic themes are now designed to work with the PlayStation 5 UI as it is. Are we supposed to then undo all of that progress yet again? Because we have to throw out these themes yet again to accommodate a UI difference yet again. Why? The PlayStation 5 UI, short of a few minor annoying quirks, is pretty damn fucking good. Like you don't ask your Android phone or your Samsung phone or your LG, we don't do LG phones anymore, how sad. Anyways, you don't ask, your even Google, with their phones, what do they even call them? Pixels. Yeah, your Pixel phones or your iPhones to have a different UI every single release. So I just don't understand why we would change. And the thing is, let's face it, the PlayStation or console UIs in general are basically just glorified file finders. Like they're file explorers. Like they're not, you're not having a UI that is going to make you do a million bloody things at once, right? It's a file explorer at the surface level of it, a storefront, so it's a marketplace on the other side, and then there's a settings page on the other side. Yes, there are a few things that can overlay on top of that, right? Like we can overlay like trophy information. We can overlay like, those help videos or those PlayStation help videos that we have. We can overlay your friends' informations and everything like that, your chat information, your messages and things like that. There's a social aspect to it as well. So, but at the core of it, those are the three functions that it needs to have. It needs to have a settings menu, it needs to have a file explorer, and it needs to have a marketplace. That's the basic console UI, as far as the customer sees it anyway. Then again, social things, trophy things, gameplay, recordings, screen sharing. I'm not saying that it's easy. What I'm saying is that it is actually quite hard. So why would we reinvent the wheel every 8 years? It's just like the PlayStation 4 UI was good. Okay? The PlayStation 3 UI is some people's favorite UI. Now, I think that it would not have been able to accommodate all of the functions that we now have in the consoles. So I think it was justified that they changed it. But let's face it, guys. If they hadn't fundamentally changed the PlayStation 4 UI, would any of us really have been that mad? especially if you meant keeping themes and folders and some of the progress that we had already made. I don't think so. I think that the new UI is good, but okay, let me put it this way. I would be fine with a different UI as long as it kept the same layers and the same core principles, so it didn't have to be reset to zero. Maybe it looks different, but functionally it behaves the same way. A little bit like how Windows 11 looks different from Windows 10, but functionally, unfortunately, it behaves the same way. So maybe something like that, like a visual refresh rather than a wholesale backend transformation, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to call it the same UI, but let's just let everybody know that I don't mean an identical UI. I just mean a UI that is born from the same core principles and same core precepts and user experience, so that we don't have that thing anymore where we press and hold in order to bring up the menu, but then on the PlayStation 4 it was actually a quick press rather than a press and hold, and then we're all getting confused again. Ugh, whatever. Another thing I wanted to have is a bigger CPU in order to be able to accommodate my desires for AI and map destruction, as well as other things. So I need more emergent gameplay in these games. Yeah, imagine Horizon. You bring down a stormbird. That stormbird knocks over a tree. That tree is now felled, but it's at an angle where you can run up it and get into the heart of, I don't know, like jump above the stormbird or whatever. And you can get an angle that you otherwise will not be able to get from that perspective or that vantage point. That's cool. But that requires, a lot of calculation, a lot of I don't know, we're going to need some kind of breakthrough in CPUs in order to be able to accommodate that sort of emergent gameplay. Obviously, that's kind of an extreme. But again, bigger CPU, more AI, more intelligent AI, more emergent gameplay, more destructibility in environments. That would be cool. Or even more ability for environments to remember what has happened in there, so that if you blow up a section of a road, maybe it doesn't automatically get fixed, or maybe it doesn't ignore that explosion but it actually gets damaged in a real way. So that would be cool. It'd be cool to blow up a bridge in half of these games, to be able to stop a rival gang from pursuing you. You blow up the bridge, and then that bridge can stay blown up either for the entirety of the game or for the majority of the game. That'd be cool to have those kind of things, and I think that requires a bigger CPU. So we'll see. I want better battery life on the DualSense, and similarly as I want the UI to be the same, I kind of want the DualSense to stay the same. I don't necessarily need the old controller to work on a new machine like what Xbox did, because if they have any ideas that are really, really great for the controllers, then I would trust them to sacrifice compatibility in order to bring those ideas forward. So that's okay. However, better battery life. It's been, ever since the PlayStation 3, I don't think we've had really good battery life in our controllers. Certainly not in PlayStation 4. So yeah, I think just let's get back to the 20-hour battery life again. I feel like battery technology has improved to the point where we can just fit these batteries in. In fact, I'm not really sure why the batteries in the DualSense is so small. It's not a small controller, and I feel like they could have used more of that surface area to put a bigger battery in there, or given a bigger bulge at the bottom. I don't think that would have been that unergonomical, that we couldn't have had better battery life already been supported in there. So anyways, they're gonna fix that, and then obviously add whatever features to the controller that you think you might have. Otherwise, I honestly really, really like the DualSense, and that's another thing that doesn't really have to change as far as I'm concerned. But then again, I really like the DualShock, and I didn't think that they were going to improve it that drastically with the DualSense. So again, I'm kind of leaving the door open for that, because I find it hard to imagine what they could do. Obviously, they could implement something like back buttons in every single controller. That could be cool. But I feel like that would just make the controllers more expensive. Even if they give you one in the box, but then you have to go buy another one, it's like $150. Not the greatest feeling. Okay. PlayStation Link built in. Now, I'm just gonna do on a small mini rant, but actually I'm not gonna go on a rant. I'm just gonna say the facts. PlayStation doesn't support Bluetooth, and they do their best to avoid it. A potential remedy that they put forward with the PlayStation Portal is this PlayStation Link protocol that they have. I don't mind it. It is what it is. However, I think that PlayStation Link should be built into the console so that you don't need a dongle to be hanging out of your console in the first place. And also, I think that it should be open to other manufacturers so that they incorporate it as if it was just another Bluetooth protocol. Like, so I can get speakers from JBL. I can get, speakers, whatever. Speakers, headphones, whatever, right? From JBL, from Sony, from Bang& Olufsen, from Bowers and Wilkins, from Apple, from whomever it is. And they just have PlayStation Link built in. So you want to pair your actual wearable speakers that you use every single day with your console, you're able to do it. I think that would be a good thing. So PlayStation Link should be built in, but it should be open to other manufacturers so that you're not just stuck to Sony branded, PlayStation branded products. So that's a thing that I think should happen. Okay, and then I want it to be back compatible to the PlayStation 4, right? The PlayStation 4 and forward, I think, since they should all, I imagine, I presume, will all be on the x86 architecture. I think that it makes sense to maintain backwards compatibility from PlayStation 4 forward. PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1 games, I'm sorry to the people that love them. I'm sorry to the retro gamers. I respect your appreciation for the hobby. However, I think that too little people, for all of the talk of PlayStation 3 backwards compatibility, too little people will actually use it actively to make that worth the effort. And I think that Sony should just give up on that. If they are 99% of the way there to finally cracking it, I think they should still give up on it. You guys are not going to use it. Not enough of you. Yes, I see you. I know you're one of the 12 that will. You will use it extensively. You will put hundreds of hours into PlayStation 3 games or your PlayStation 5 or your PlayStation 6. But you are like one of 12 people in the world. And I'm sorry, it's a numbers game at some point. Okay, that's pretty much it. Those are my predictions so far for the PlayStation 6. Okay, now let's talk about Xbox. Sony is incredibly quiet, right? I respect that. I respect the notion of an artist taking the time, perfecting the work, and putting out there when they are ready to show it. Like when we see Ghost of Yote, a lot of people have said that Ghost of Yote isn't as visually impressive as they thought it would be, considering how visually impressive Ghost of Tsushima was. Essentially what they're saying is that it feels like they have maintained the same graphical presentation or technical accuracy graphically when they expected a bit more of a leap. I think that is false. And I think that as we see more of Ghost of Yote, we're going to see the nuance, just like I was talking about with lighting in the real world. It's not how majestic it is. It's about how, or at least its majesty lies in its nuance, not just in its boldness. And I think that's where graphics are going to go actually. As the generations progress, you're not going to see leaps and bounds. You're not going to see that whole 2D to 3D and then like like when we just keep getting better, like HD and then 4K. And I think you're going to see more nuanced, things like lighting. That's a more nuanced version of better graphics. Things like shadow fidelity. That's a more nuanced presentation. Things like more realistic contrast and shadows and, all of these things. Like I watched the Unreal Engine 5.5 demonstration, and what they showed there did not look as captivating as the first kind of Unreal 5 demo, when we had it. But it was more nuanced. It was more about the finer details. And I think that's where graphics are going. And when I see Ghost of Yote, I see that more nuanced presentation. Oh, it's the amount of, moving things in the rings and things like that. But anyways, we will see more on that. Point is, Sony, just like Sucker Punch was, is a traditionally more reserved, company in terms of its communication to its customers. Xbox, on the other hand, is basically frat boy loud, in the middle of a party when they know that they came in a Lamborghini Urus that the parents bought for them. They're just so loud. And I want to talk specifically about Halo Studios, right? The rebranding of 343 Industries. And this whole presentation, I had to think about what was its purpose. Essentially, it's a recruitment video because they want to bring more people into the thing. It's a rebranding of the studio because 343 Industries um, has been really uh, shamed for their for their failures so far. And I think that this must go into the professional realm where they're finding that people hesitate to apply there because they don't want to be associated with that brand. So therefore they needed to rebrand and everything like that. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch the little recruitment video that they put out, and I'm gonna tell you my problem with it. And my problem with it is basically like this isn't a game. You're not showing a game. You're not showing a representation of a game. You're talking instead about a project, and that's my issue with it. You're talking a little bit too loud without actually first, getting into the kitchen and doing some good work. So let's watch it together.
Chris Matthews, take one. Mark. This is Casey Wu, take one. Mark.
Hello,
I
Casey.
was told that I can just be my authentic self.
You can just be yourself.
For 6 years, I don't want to be in front of a camera anymore.
There's so much to do and so much fun to be had when you play Halo.
Why are you telling us this though? Like, the thing, okay, it's a recruitment video, but I'm just like, why are you telling us this?
That I feel like I never run out of things to do.
I love intricate stories that take place across lots of different worlds, have lots of different meaningful characters.
Okay, my problem is that Halo Infinite didn't take place across different worlds, and it didn't have interesting characters. Like, I feel like you're speaking to. They show you that this is nostalgia bait right here. They show you these ones because these are the ones that took place across different worlds, and these are the ones that had interesting characters. It's like, can you make it? My entire issue with this recruitment video is the fact that you're not talking about the game. You're not even giving me your vision for the game. You're not saying like, hey guys, listen, our next Halo adventure, we're going to take you on different worlds. We're going to give you interesting characters. We're going to do this and that. No, instead you're doing nostalgia bait for games that you as a studio didn't create. Because 343 Industries, now redubbed Halo Studios, you didn't create these games. You don't have a claim to this legacy. Yes, I know certain employees, came from that time. So they may have a personal stake, but as a studio, you have no claim to these games. So it's like, for you to just be rage baiting, I find it kind of just disgusting,
What made Halo successful at the beginning? What is the legacy of Halo and what's the soul that we want to bring forward and what's the...
Okay, here's my thing though. These questions will be fascinating, will be justified if this was 343 Industries in the first year. Like, you guys have had something like, what, 10 years, 12 years, I don't know, 13 years to figure out the answers to these questions, and evidently you never got it right. And I'm a person, people think I hate Halo. I don't hate Halo, the property. I hate Halo Infinite specifically because Halo Infinite is a game that just doesn't get as much crash as it deserves. It doesn't. Like, it's like Halo was the iPhone of Xbox, right? Imagine if Apple fucked up an iPhone launch. Like, imagine if people got it and it could barely turn on, and as soon as you just, like, the natural oils on your skin will act like a water, like it's almost as if you put it in water and it wasn't waterproof anymore. Like, it literally destroyed your screen as you used it. Like, that's what Halo Infinite was garbage. But the thing is, it can't be garbage because it's a Halo game. And when I tell this to people, they're just like, oh no, Emmanuel, oh no, you can't say that. No, it's like a mediocre Halo is a garbage product because it's Halo. Because again, you can't have a mediocre iPhone. You can have a by-the-by iPhone. You can have an iPhone that is, kind of just like in standing with all of the iPhones that came before it. Like, imagine if Halo Infinite was just as good as Halo 3 or Halo 2. Yeah, perfect, fantastic. But a mediocre Halo is a garbage product because it is not only the flagship level. Halo was a flagship in a way that no PlayStation property has been a flagship. In that sense that Halo literally carried the entire brand on its back. There's no PlayStation property that carries the entire brand on its back. If they fuck up the next Horizon, that's okay because you still have other like champions carrying the PlayStation brand. You still have Spider-Man, you still have God of War, you still have Gran Turismo, you still have Sackboy, you still have Astrobot now, you know, you still have all of these other games, you still have Ghost of Yote, you know, you still have whatever, you know, games are going to come next, and all of the games have come before. But the point is, you have a lot. But Halo, you know, it was Halo, Gears, and Forza, but let's face it, there's a reason that we always say Halo, Gears, and Forza, right? It's in that order. Halo is number one. I don't think that there is a Halo, Gears, and Forza equivalent in the PlayStation side. So you can't fuck up Halo. And these questions that you're asking, you know, it's good to have in as a concept. But you should have been answered this 5+ years ago, way before you made Halo Infinite, that's for sure.
Craft of making Halo games, and how do we set our studio at best to go deliver on that?
We knew we had to make a change in order to take us into the future.
When I first heard about Halo moving on Unreal Engine, my first thought was this is going to be a really hard secret to keep.
I think fans are going to be excited about the future of Halo because of the possibilities that are afforded us by using Unreal.
Why is this like an Unreal Engine? Like, why are we like sucking up Unreal Engine? Unreal Engine, I'm sure it's a great engine, but it's just an engine. It doesn't make the game fun. It doesn't make the game good. It doesn't make the game better than what Halo Infinite was. It's just a different toolkit, really. So I guess when they say where are the tools were at Unreal, I suppose.
We really had to split our focus in thinking about building an engine, supporting it, being really kind of a tech company and a studio at the same time.
So here's my thing with that. She's absolutely right. It must be difficult to be kind of like the tech engineer and the backup thing, but at the same time being the creative and the person that's actually delivering the product all in one house. My point with this is that at 343 Industries, you were meant to be one of the jewels of the Xbox brand. And almost, as far as I know, almost every PlayStation studio has its own engine. Like, so what you're complaining about is something that the people on the other side of the fence literally do all of the time. Sucker Punch has its own engine, I'm pretty sure. We know Guerrilla definitely has its own engine with Decima. Santa Monica has its own engine for the God of War franchise. Polyphony Digital, I'm pretty sure, has their own engine as well. So it's like I don't know off by head any PlayStation studio that uses a commonly available engine. So all of them are doing it. Like, it's one thing to complain about it. Like, yeah, it's meant to be difficult, but you're also not meant to be understaffed or poorly managed. And they manage to do it at the other side of the fence. They are their own. You know, they're not using Unreal Engine 5. They're using their own proprietary engines. Each and every single one of them. Why can't you manage it? You've had the time. You literally built the Sleep Space engine for this one game. You only made one game. You made a game for the one engine. It's not like you made a game for an engine that was meant to be like Havoc or like Frostbite to go across different studios. No, you literally just made it for a single game and you fucked up at that. So it's like you're saying it, but it reads more like an excuse when everyone else is managing to do it. So yeah, I don't know.
Since we've made the change to shift to UE, we can bring Halo forward in ways that people have never seen before while still being true to what Halo is.
The Foundry project was an effort to show ourselves how far we
can we talk about, first of all, good frame. This is a good frame. This is a good still. They look really good, really happy there. I like the background. The cameraman was really doing his work there. It's cool. Good frame there. Okay, second, can we talk about how much Xbox as a brand loves projects? Why do you love projects so much? Why is it always like there's like Project Natal, you know, Project what is it? Project Scorpio, Project Scarlet, Project this, Project that. Why are we always hearing about project? Like, why can't you just make the thing happen? Like, you're always talking about projects. Like, oh my god. Now we have Project Foundry. Not the game, a kind of tech demo for the game Which again, for a recruitment video, it makes a lot of sense actually. Like, let's say that you are putting out a recruitment drive and you are wanting these artists and these engineers and these developers to come to you, and you're like, okay guys, listen, let's be honest, we haven't done our best work with Halo, so we have created Project Foundry. Here it is. Here is it running on original Engine 5. Here's our vision. Here's our thing. But this will be either one-on-one or one, into like, I don't know, a class of potential developer hires that you're looking at to convince them that your studio is moving forward into the future with something more, I guess, industry standard. Basically as part of your recruitment pitch to the people, like, hey, come, you're already well versed in Unreal Engine 5. Let us show you this demo and everything. But that's not meant to be public facing. Like, we should only find out about something like Project Foundry through like a JSON trial or to like an IGN coverage or something. Not this thing where you're trying to put it out to gamers that somehow they should run with it. And the thing is, Xbox people are already running with it. And it's kind of sad because it's a project. And before they created Halo Infinite, they gave us a whole, tech demo, in-engine rendering of the Sleep Space engine. And none of that came true. Not even a bit.
Push things using Unreal 5.
New studio art director, Chris.
We should take a shot every single time they say Unreal Engine 5 or Unreal 5.
There's this thing called Project Foundry that I want to do. Let's see.
I like the way they're like, hey, the art director. He came in one day and was like, guys, stop the press. The press shall be stopped. I have come up with Project Foundry. It's an amazing thing. We're going to do it. We're doing it. I am the art director. Oh man, the lies they tell. Why are you telling this fake narrative about how like one day Chris just woke up and said, Project Foundry. And then he was also, and as part of Project Foundry, we shall change our names. No more shall we be known as 343i. Who even knows what 343 is? It is 7 to the power of 3. Why is that? What is a guilty spark? Why should we be called this thing? No, we make hello, and we shall only see hello coming out of us. Therefore, say hello to Hello Studios. That is my decree, as I am the art director, according to the narrative put out in this video. Oh my god, it's so silly.
Foundry specifically is based around the same concept of the Foundry in Halo lore. Is the place.
Okay, so they were called 343 Industries after a character in the game, which is part of the Halo lore. Then it changed to Halo Studio after the game, which I suppose is part of the Halo lore. But now they have a project for the next Halo game, which is based on the game, which is part of the lore, I suppose, because of continuation of the lore. But now they're going to base the name for the project that's going to now help them pitch the game to all the people that will help build the game, based also on Halo lore. You're just redoing the same steps, just in a different place. Like, why? Why does it have to be called Project Foundry? Oh, it's part of Halo lore. Oh, wow. Quelle surprise. I am calling me surprised. It's great.
It's where Halo rings are born.
Halo rings. And what does that do? Also, okay. I know a little bit about the lore in Halo, right? But here's my thing. I'm going to put this out there. You don't have to agree at all. You don't have to agree. You personally, you yourself, viewer, listening person, hey, listen, you don't have to agree with me. This isn't something that I'm imposing on the game. It's just something that I'm thinking. And what I'm thinking is, why do the Halo rings look like the Pacific Northwest? I don't like that biome. Why does it look like Earth? If I'm on a Halo ring, it's such an alien, mind-boggling structure, I personally think that it should look like an alien, mind-boggling world. Like, okay, why is that this water? What functionality does it serve? You know what I mean? Like, this is a structure that is meant to destroy all life on Earth. Every part of it should be a machine purposefully designed and engineered by the forerunners or the builders or whomever made it, right? to just be literally help this installation destroy life, no, not on Earth, but on any planet that they orbit around, on any system that it's in, whatever, right? But point is, all of it should be about destroying life. Is this decoration? Were they meant to be like forerunners or whomever, or like walking around here, like drinking the water, living on the installation? What happens when it gets activated? Does this get evaporated too? Because certainly water could contain bacteria and life and microbial organisms. Like, what function does it serve in the lore to have this? Now, I know obviously for a gameplay function, it makes it interesting. But for me, like, take a look at Horizon for Forbidden West or Horizon Zero Dawn. The cauldrons, which are kind of the most futuristic structures, you know, they have a highly intensive function. They are there not as a gameplay opportunity, but as a pivotal core part of what Project Zero Dawn is, so that it actually has a function in the world. It's not just there as an arena for you to fight a giant machine at the end. It's actually doing things as part of the world's, you know, lore and the world's, you know, how the sci-fi of the world is built. So what is this water here? Is this coolant? Like, does it cool the installation in some way? Does it serve a purpose? Like, is it actually water? Is it H2O or is it something else? Can I drink from it? Is it filtered? Like, does it work for my organism? What does this grass do? What do these rocks do? Why is there earth? Why is there dirt? Why are there rocks on this installation? It has to come from somewhere, because supposedly this was a machine. So why would they have purposefully included all of this? Why are there trees? Why are there trees on the Halo ring? Why is there ice? Unless you're saying, hey, you know what? This isn't the Halo ring, Emmanuel. This is just a random planet. Okay? Like this. Why is there all of this? Is this a planet? Is this the Halo ring? Where are we? Why does it exist? And if it is a planet, why does it look like so much like planet Earth? Is it planet Earth? In that case, where is this megastructure coming from? Is it a different planet that looks a lot like planet Earth? And if it's a different planet, why does it look like planet Earth? Like, we do realize that planet Earth is like one of billions of combinations that could have still, like, you know, had life on them. But why does it look like I'm taking a stroll through, like, some place in, I don't know, Oregon or something? I don't know, America. I don't know where the Pacific Northwest is. I don't know what state that is, but whatever. Like, I'm just gonna say random states. Louisiana. Am I close? Am I far? I don't know. But why does it look like this? Why do these look like mountains? Why are there clouds? Can someone explain to me the science of these rings? I don't understand it. And the reason I keep thinking it's a ring is because this is exactly what we got in Halo Infinite. And I'm just like, why is it like that? Someone make it make sense. It pisses me off that these questions are never answered. And I've tried listening to a lot of like Halo lore videos to be like, why do the environments look like a planet when it's a ring? Shouldn't and does a ring spin around? Otherwise, how does it get its gravity? Because it has nothing. It's hollow. It's a donut in the sky. I'm mad. I think. Okay, so see, look at this. This here is clearly the ring. Okay, so why is all of this here? Why is it here? Oh, well done. Hold on. Is this a planet? Maybe this is like the planet, and then that's the ring around the planet. So this isn't actually the ring. Oh, you got me there. Good looking out. Good looking out. Okay, but it's probably the ring, right? We all agree that it's probably the ring. Why is all of this here? Why isn't the ring just a giant metallic installation in the sky? Because really, wouldn't that be the best way to have it? I don't know. Okay, out of all of the biomes that you showed, this is the coolest one. This is the coolest one by far. Why? Because this looks alien. It looks alien. Also, this looks like it could be another planet, because it would be ironic if the Flood had invaded a ring, an installation that's designed to kill them. You would think that the rings themselves will have some kind of defenses against the Flood itself, considering it's actually whatever. I don't think Halo lore is something that I know enough of to talk about it, but I'm just imagining this as a planet that has been overrun by the Flood, and this is so cool. It's so good to see an actual alien world. Like, when you guys look at sci-fi, don't you want to experience alien worlds? Why do you want to experience Earth? Like, go play Horizon for that. Or go play Death Stranding for that. Like, those are based on Earth. If I go on Halo, I don't care which planet I'm on. I want to experience an alien world. Push your imagination to the boundaries. So I'm really happy about this one. This one looks really, really cool.
The original Halo franchise was a graphics showcase. It was best in class. That's what Halo was when it first was released, and that's what Halo needs to be again.
Proving that Halo Infinite looked like garbage because it clearly wasn't best in class. It wasn't even like mid in class. It was barely low in class. It may as well. It didn't come to class. It was shit. It looked like garbage. Stop pretending that it did that. Bruh, get me out of here. Also, this don't look good. Okay, I'm sorry. This thing, I don't know. I don't know what kind of lighting technology this is, but this looks very baked in. This again looks like it doesn't respect any kind of like actual lighting source that is in the sky, unless they have lighting sources at every single angle. Because why is this picking up reflections that are like bright, you know, what do they call them? Bright highlights, specular highlights, that's what I call. Why are there bright specular highlights on every single facet of this dude's armor? Like, really? There's lighting sources everywhere, you know? So it is what it is. I don't like it. This one over here kind of looks a little bit better. Look kind of less specular highlights everywhere-ish. But yeah, whatever. Oh, look, they animated the sword. You know, everything else is still, but the sword kind of has like a thing going on. That's cool. That's cool. This looks awful. I don't know. Like, you think that you put a few scratches and everything here, and then that's it? Like, that's real? Like, no, make the material science here a lot better. Like, add the textures in. And also, this very orange visor, I just don't like it. Also, can we talk about this cap? Why on earth? What? This is this like a sun protector thing? Whatever. If it's a new Dawn, could you create a Halo that like has a really strong core in like what is it? I guess like a really strong scientific underpinning, so that everything makes sense, like gravity around planets, you know, the actual things that the soldiers will need to wear. Like at this stage, gaming is big enough that you should be able to hire writers and have a writing room where people can really dive super deep as to like the concepts of the materials and the astrophysics, you know, the astrophysics side of the equation, so that things make a lot more sense in universe based on the actual understanding of our universe, and you just extrapolate and take a few liberties here and there. Why don't you be like, oh look, there's a cool green toy man there. How does he shit? How does Master Chief poop? And don't just say to me like, oh, the suit recycles everything. Okay, well then, where does that go? Where does he empty? Where does he empty himself? Also, if you're thinking, Emmanuel, you're going really, really far into that one. I've always thought about, where does Aloy go? Like, where does she go? Like, where? How come she never pees? Like, I think Death Stranding has pooping and peeing in game, in universe. Every game needs to have that. Where do these people defecate? That is an important question that, as part of my AI push, these games need to answer. Okay, so this guy, how does he eat? Like, does the suit just magically provide pellets as well? Like, wait, does he take off his helmet? Like, how do these things work? I want to know. Okay, I want to know where they poop. I want to know how they eat. I want to know all of the things. At least Aloy eats. Aloy eats in the game, so there is that. But we need, in Horizon 3, whatever, we need to know where she poops. Okay, because if something's going in, something needs to come out, and that needs to be a gameplay mechanic. Death Stranding did it, every other game.
We took the entire creative team and we ideated on 3 locations, something old, something new, and something really alien.
We had the Pacific Northwest, which is sort of traditional Halo vibe.
Why is it traditional Halo? Why do these flowers do? Is it like, why? What is the purpose of this? And also the the discontinuity between these snowy ass mountains and this like summer ass environment over here. That's just funny.
You're trying to shove as much foliage in there as humanly possible to make it really feel like you're on a hike in the, you know, Cascades.
Why? Why do I want to feel like I hike on a cascade? You know what I want to feel like? I want to feel like I'm on a fucking Halo ring. That's what I want to feel. I want to feel like I'm an impossible, majestic, death construction machine in the sky, you know, or in space, technically, that somehow has its own atmosphere. I will give it that. But I want what are the weather conditions like? Because I imagine if I was a forerunner or whomever built it, like I'm just gonna call it a builder of the Halo installation, and I was doing the engineering for it as it was being developed as a weapon to combat the flood. I imagine that even if I say that it needed gravity and it needed an atmosphere of its own and it needed weather patterns and even water and mountains, why? Like, how did it? Whatever. Anyways, it needed mountains of its own for some reason, right? Because they literally just picked up mountain materials like rocks and dirt and soils and seeds from random planets that they had colonized or whatever. And then they just brought it to the installation because otherwise how would you get the mountains there, right? That's literally what had to happen. They just had extra shipping time, you know, like they were not against the clock, against the flood. They were like, dude, this whole flood problem, bro, that won't be an issue for like another 2,000 years. Like, let's decorate this bitch. Like, let's pimp my ring. Like, oh, mine? Yours has mountains. Mine has a whole desert. I imagine that I would want even those mountains and those rocks and those deserts and those whatever biomes to actually serve a functional purpose so that it at least doesn't get in the way of the functionality of the ring. But you know, whatever. Maybe I just think too much into it because I actually like good writing. Whatever. Hey, it's me, you know.
Lands, which was the second biome that we took on, it was more of a technical showcase where we could play with.
Oh, a technical showcase. How exciting it is to hear this as a gamer.
Affords us more opportunity than we've ever had in the past.
Unreal, a random third-party general purpose engine, affords you more opportunity than a dedicated purpose-built for only this franchise engine that you yourselves made. That's not a good look. That is not a good look.
On the surface, it might just look all like snow, but how many layers of things combined?
Wait, why are you asking us how many layers? It's your project. It's your technical demonstration. Just tell us. Like, what do you mean how many layers? Like, you know, fucking Chris, ask Chris. It was his entire idea. He probably was like, and then everyone, we're going to have 16 layers of snow. That's what we're going to do. Because this is Project Foundry. I just thought about it. I didn't ask no one. But this is what we're doing, creative team. So just ask Chris how many layers it takes to make it look realistic. Why are you asking us, oh, but how many layers? It's like a guessing game. My answer is 32. 32. You're 32 today.
To really give that winter look.
And then our third biome was the Blightlands, which is
Ooh, the Blightlands.
land that's been completely taken over by the flood.
I want to know the science behind that one. Because the flood basically consumes, right? What happens when they are done consuming? How do they subsist themselves? Like, how cool would it be if they told you that the flood literally eats itself and that's how it like mutates, but then the more it mutates, the less of it there is because it's literally consuming itself. After gorging itself on the entire planet, it then starts to break down and kill its own self, but then it has eaten off their resources. So if you let them, after like 10,000 years, there will be no more flood because it would have all eaten itself. But what you will be left with is a lifeless rock. How cool would that be? But anyways, that's cool. I like the lore of Halo because I like this idea of like this unstoppable force that you have to go through drastic measures in order to be able to eradicate. Like again in the Horizon franchise, once the robots have destroyed. Oh, sorry. Am I breaking? I mean, Zero Dawn was released ages ago. I'm gonna go medium level spoilers. But the point is, once the threat has eradicated life, they go dormant. They just don't move. They just go dormant. And until certain things happen. And that's basically how that works. But the point is, in universe, there is an aftermath. After the apocalypse, the creators of that apocalypse are in certain places, are in certain state of existence that makes sense for that particular threat.
Of our team the opportunity to really
Is this Chris, by the way?
alien world.
Is this Chris? Is this the guy who was like, we're gonna change our logo?
In previous Halo games.
What's impressed me about watching the Halo team work in Unreal is how beautiful everything looks, how incredible the environments look.
This guy is like, what's impressed me about watching this is like, they took assets from our asset store, they put them together, and they were like, we've done such a good job. And he was like, wow, if you guys could even manage this in your previous engine, what the fuck were you doing?
I don't think we've seen anything quite like it in Unreal Engine before.
No, you're such a liar. You haven't seen anything quite like this? This generic as fuck picture? Like this, you were like, what? This grass and then mountains and like trees. Is it like coniferous trees? Whatever type of trees these are they evergreen? I don't know, but whatever these trees are, and like little dirts and moss and little things like that. I have never seen this in Unreal Engine before. Oh my god. Look at her butt. Sorry, I'm sorry. I just can't. You've never seen it you've never seen this on Unreal Engine. You work for Epic. Fortnite, despite it not being like photorealistic, Fortnite has done way more impressive things with with Unreal Engine than this. It's like I've never seen it before. I've never seen it before. Wow. Oh my god. Unreal Engine has been around for like 24 centuries or something like that. But you know what? Never seen it. Never seen it. These very earth looking like plants have never been done. That's just, wow. This one has shadows. It's just nanite. You know, am I right? Like, yeah, whatever.
Fortunately, we have a studio that's really passionate about Halo, about the look and the feel, and you know, I think there's
I'm not gonna make any
a
comment.
lot of hunger to really collaborate, to move forward together.
Foundry was an initiative that touched on every part of the creative process.
That's a lie. He said that Foundry was an initiative that touched on every part of the creative process, but it barely touched on animation for what we see. It certainly doesn't touch on gameplay mechanics because there was no demonstration of like even just the Halo Infinite gameplay being rendered in Project Foundry. It's not like they had the whole what do they call it? That thing, that slingshot. No, not slingshot. Grapple hook. It's not like we saw a demonstration of the grapple hook. We didn't see any guns being firing at all. We didn't see any actual gameplay moment. So how can you be like you touch on every part of the creative process? We also don't hear any audio samples whatsoever. We don't even hear ambient audio. We don't hear the water or the stream running or anything like that. So you didn't touch on gameplay. You didn't touch on audio. You barely touched on lighting because even the lighting that you had there wasn't continuous 24/7 lighting. It was just different stages. You know, remember the ice stage where they had like, oh, it's in the day and then it's at night and it's like red night. It's not like you had the day and night cycle fully functioning. So what do you mean? On the technical level, you didn't touch on it. You know, so that's gameplay, technicality, and audio. You haven't touched on whatsoever. And then there's probably inventory systems that you didn't touch on. But you say every part of the creative piece, you didn't touch on that. You didn't touch on vehicles. You didn't touch on transportation. You didn't touch on a million other things, you know, even just like how do you have other characters. You didn't touch about level of detail or whether you were using nanite or any other kind of like lumen for rendering things. You didn't touch on ray tracing. You didn't touch on anything like that. You have so many parts of creative process that this has no indication of. And this over here is like a 6 minutes 35 video with a whole bunch of voiceovers and cuts in order to make it longer than it actually is. So if you had touched on any of those things, you should put more of them in this video because what else is the fucking point? You're lost. Oh, such a lie. If this is Chris, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in you, Chris.
Concept art, VFX, characters, vehicles, and weapons to make the future games of Halo.
Yeah, but where are they in action? So over here, they're giving these close-ups. They're like, look, guys, look. We added a few scratches in order to make this more realistic. Good on them. Good on them. I appreciate that.
Now we can really dig into material foundations. What is it actually made of? How is it
Mm.
physically?
So wait, you didn't know what it was made of when you made the last 3 games? You made Halo 4, Halo 5, and Halo Infinite. You didn't ask yourself what materials were these things made of? Like, this is not the first time where you're like, So, is it like aluminium or like titanium? Obsidian? Like, what are we calling this one? Unobtainium? Vibranium? Like, what are we... I don't know. What is this? What is this pistol made of? It's the first time in all 3 games we shipped that we had time with Project Foundry to finally sit down and ask ourselves, this Mjolnir armor, what would be the technical composition behind it? And you know what? Considering how garbage your previous games have been, I almost believe it.
Accurate to the world. Now we get.
Oh, we got scratches.
The wonderful legacy.
So over here, what is this made of? So they finally asked themselves, right? What is this going to be made of? Okay. So what is it? Why again is this like a quiz? Like, why am I trying to guess what it's made of? Tell me what it is made of. What is this made of? Is this made of light? Is it made of plasma? Is it made of laser? Is it made of some kind of like quantum, unstable material, whatever? Is it like a kyber crystal, like a lightsaber? Because it's very lightsaber-ish, right? Like, what is this made of? Why does it behave that way? And why do I see this digitized pattern there? Was the developer of that weapon be like, you know what, guys? I want like a live wallpaper kind of feeling there. Just something little 3D animation people can look at as they die. It's really going to be really cool. They're going to like it.
The assets that we have, bring them to life and bring them to today's standards.
Which means, again, that in Halo Infinite, they were not to today's standards. Which is, again, what I said. Oh, we're doing slow pans over. Oh, that visor just should be trimmed down.
To be not just working on multiple projects, but
Ooh,
also
multiple projects.
As a lifelong Halo player,
They're expanding the studio. Now, I think they fired a lot of people, so it's good to know that they'll be getting those people back. Right?
better when we get those new, unique perspectives and people bring in their expertise and passion for the Halo franchise.
We are looking for new talent as the projects that we're working on kind of get further and further into their development.
Can I just say, since they are working on all of these projects and are looking for new talent, I think all talent is new again. Just go look through your phone book. Just everybody that you fired because of that stupid 18-month contract, bring those people back. Especially the ones that were more versed in Unreal Engine 5. I don't even understand why this video is needed. You have everyone in your phone book already. Just bring them back. Just bring all of them back.
It is great to be part of a team that's growing because you can kind of see that force multiplied as people come in and take on challenges and you can do more.
Imagine a place where you have the commitment that this is what we want to do. Halo games.
Wait, what was 343 then? What do you mean imagine a place where we have the commitment? You mean what? Imagine your studio yesterday? Weren't you meant to have the commitment to make Halo games? It's literally all that you made. You were named after the game. Why is this something that we need to imagine? Like, this is what I mean by these Xbox things. They are more embarrassing than they realize. And it's like, the people that listen to this, don't you go like, wait a second, what's that saying about who we were literally just a week ago? Like, it was all good just a week ago, right? But now are you admitting that this whole time you were like, Jesus Christ, this whole Halo thing, right? I'm like, am I right? Like, can we just, like, get off it? And then Chris came out one day and was like, I am the art director. I shall tell you, we shall not get off the Halo games. Matter of fact, we're going to have a commitment for the first time in our history. We're going to name ourselves after Halo. And then some other guy was like, hey, we are already named after Halo. He was like, you are fired. I am the art director. Oh, man.
Create those experiences. And you can express your talent, activity, and your professional ambitions in that place.
We're looking for designers, we're looking for artists, we're looking for engineers.
We're looking through our phone book because we already had artists and designers and engineers and all of them. We already have them. We have their names. We know where they live. We have the social security numbers. It's literally, we can just open an Excel spreadsheet and just call those people back up. That's literally it. And also, since we are working for Xbox, which is one of the richest, most successful companies on earth, We can literally just open up the checkbook as well. We open up the phone book and we open up the checkbook. And if those people are working at Naughty Dog or whomever else, we just be like, hey, would you like to have $1 million in a year? Yeah, get your ass back to Redmond. We are going to be working on Halo now because we are Halo Studios, bitch. And we are committed this time around. We know what the pistol is made out of. And they'll be like, oh, goddamn, I always wondered.
It feels like a new beginning for the studio in a lot of ways. And I think that's pretty rare.
In a lot of logo ways, maybe.
I think we arrived now at a point where you see the beginnings of people to start to believe in the process.
Wait. What do you mean they're starting to believe in the process? What I like about these guys is when they say something like deep and impactful, that like, what I like about it now is obviously the beginning of the people starting to believe in the process. After we shipped 3 games, many years apart, and we had a lot of time. We had all of the time in the world, but it's good now. We are beginning to believe. We're not believing yet. We're beginning to believe. We don't know the process. We don't know it work, because belief is really an expression of that. If you think about it. Really, you don't believe in your mom because you know that your mom exists. So you don't need to believe in her because it's not a test of faith. But we don't know that our commitment exists to Halo. But we're beginning to believe in the process. We don't even believe in this whole Unreal Engine 5 thing. We're beginning to believe in it. You know, like, could it be good? Could it be bad? We don't know. Is this the tools? We don't know. But now we are starting to believe. That is all. We are just... we're starting to believe in the process because it's something that is still an element of faith. Is Matt Bully gonna fuck it up? We don't know. Is Phil Spencer going to tell us to make games for the Nintendo Switch? Probably. We don't know. But we are beginning to believe because again, this is not a short thing by any means. It's a process that requires faith and dedication and a blind loyalty. You know, a cult-like mentality. But we're beginning to convert the people. That's what we are. It's been like 17,000 years since we've been named 343 Industries, but now we are finally beginning for the first time to believe in the process. That should be reassuring to you, people who want to work for us and with us, and also should be reassuring to you, fans, that we are now starting to believe in Halo.
So much momentum that we have right now, and focus and clarity on not just what we're building, but why we're building. And
why are you saying these things that should have been worked out before you ever got close to releasing Halo 4? Or even pre-conceptualizing what Halo 4 should have been? Why are you saying that now you're starting to believe in what we had and why you're doing it? Jesus Christ, this is worrisome. Why are you smiling that this is a good thing? You are an old-ass fucking studio. Just because you changed your name yesterday doesn't mean you started from day one or like from... Oh my God. Why does Xbox talk? Why is this a video that is shown to the public? Dude.
And kind of this next phase of Halo.
The worlds that we're building, the stories that we're going after.
The potential at Halo right now is huge.
The potential at Halo has always been huge because you were handed it. People made it big, then passed on the baton to you. Don't say that, oh wow, the potential has always been... Dude, it's... Bro, if I was an Xbox fan, this might be the straw that pushes that just breaks the camel's back. Like, this might be the straw that literally just pushes the elephant off the cliff. Because... Why? Why are you speaking as if this was your first day as an organization on this project? Again, you just changed your name. You didn't change your people. Unless you flushed out everyone and then just got a brand new hand and you're just like, yeah, let's go for the first time. This is troublesome. Oh, and this over here, I think is like the little demo thing that they showed us. Oh my God.
Was the last remnants of how we made Halo games in the past.
Mm.
That was our recipe.
That was our recipe.
Right now we're changing the recipe.
We changed the recipe because the recipe was garbage. And we have one little... This guy looks like an AI character. Even this sword, I'm sorry, the plasma sword or whatever, it looks like an AI generated thing. Like this looks very, very cheap. Like this is like master cheap. Like I'm not convinced by any part of this. I think it's the fact that it's the lighting around him. Like this is meant to be, this thing over here should be like silhouetted. Imagine if everything there was dark, like in that vision where they gave us of like the snow section, where it was had like the red sky and like the moon or planet in the background, and that was the thing. And then this blue over here would stand out against the red and the darkness. Yeah, that would be cooler. But this version of it just looks like a little toy character and not one to be taken seriously. It's very Hasbro. It's very like Transformer Lego set looking. I'm not convinced by this. I don't feel this as a powerful character. And he looks small. This frame is dog shit. This is an awful frame. It's awful. This animation is also awful. I know I stopped it all the halfway through, but let me just play it.
That was our recipe. And what we are doing right now, we're changing their recipe.
Yeah, all of that looks shit. All of that whole animation looks shit. It looked terrible. Awful. Awful. Goddamn awful. So, anyways, it's a new Dawn. And I don't think they have anything else. Yeah, I don't think they have anything else worth looking at. Anyways, that's it. That's what I want to say about Xbox. I think Xbox talks too much. I think that the studios talk too much. The head of businesses talk too much. We didn't see a presentation about the reboot before it happened of God of War 2018. We didn't see Ghost of Tsushima, a presentation kind of explaining to us that they were going to leave Infamous and we're going to go to Ghost. We don't see these things because it's more impactful when you release the product, people are happy with the product, then you create a documentary, even if you had shot it all the way through the production. We create a documentary that releases afterwards where you're like, hey guys, look at these pivotal moments. Look at the moment that, Chris came in and was like, I am the art director. And as the art director, I now have full control of what the studio does. And we are doing Project Foundry. Like first, show us the game. Then we can find out about it. But this is worrisome. Halo Infinite story was garbage. Complete garbage. The most interesting part of Halo Infinite story happened when Master Chief was still floating in space. When is it the Covenant or... Oh, it's not the Covenant. It's whomever it is, the brutes that you're fighting. When they first attacked the Halo installation, the things that ensued, the fact that Cortana had this rivalry with this guy, and then she tried to kill him, but she really didn't. The fact that she kind of because she was basically like an evil deity at one point, and then she blew up some training facility for the military that they have, right? And somehow all of this happens, and she kind of brings herself back from the edge of insanity. All of those things happen before the game begins, before the events of the game. And then you have like Cortana little Cortana or Cortana at home, like Cortana if you wish for her, and she's just not compelling at all. She's meant to be like a comic relief character, but she's just not serious at all. It's just really shit. But then at the end, they said like, hey, remember that big baddie that was having an issue with Cortana? Which, by the way, he was right. Like the villain was actually correct in this case to hate Cortana as much as he did, and to want to destroy humanity because Cortana destroyed his world, which was that's a pretty good reason to hate someone. So he was 100% right. And Master Chief, by aiding Cortana, was actually just playing in the villainous role. But whatever, right? But the point is, he was going to come back, I suppose, and in a DLC or something, you were going to get a little bit more of an interesting chapter. Because essentially what you played through Halo Infinite was Master Chief trying to cure like insomnia, or at least trying to cure the things that he's missed out on because he was floating in space, which again, we're never going to get into the how that happened, how he sustained himself or whatever. Mjolnir armor just magically did things. It's fine. I love it when my sci-fi, worlds have like fantasy in order to explain their, shortcomings in terms of the sci-fi nature that they are. I love it when that happens, because really you couldn't write a good sci-fi story, so then you have to use fantasy elements in order to basically explain away whatever plot holes you've put for yourself. That's a great form of writing, by the way. I'm such a fan of it. Yeah. So in any case, the entirety of the Halo Infinite campaign is Master Chief realizing that he woke up on a Thursday when he thought it was a Monday, and then realizing that between Tuesday and Wednesday the world kind of ended and unpended itself, and on Thursday and Friday he's just really trying to keep up with what happened. So that's what it is, but it was pretty boring and you didn't really meet anyone interesting at all. So there was a good chance that perhaps if they doubled down on it, they could have made the second part of that story a lot more interesting, so that people would actually care. But now it sounds like it's a reboot, and I think if it's going to be a reboot, I think they should just reboot the entire series. Give it a lot more solid underpinnings in the world of actual sci-fi, not the world of like sci-fi the way Star Wars sees it, where Star Wars is just fantasy with a with a sci-fi skin on, because the Force is basically just magic. I think if you were to ground Halo in solid sci-fi principles, started over from the beginning, have a plan this time around, and bring elements that were not there in the original games. So maybe you have a lot more political elements. You feel like maybe Master Chief, maybe you reduce his importance to the war effort. Maybe instead of being like the one goddamn galaxy-wide hero, maybe he's just one of some such heroes. Like maybe you make it so that there's like 10 really, really great Spartans out there doing things that on the surface of it seem equally impressive, equally impactful to humanity's survival. But eventually you kind of show Master Chief is like the best of them. That would be cool. That would be a cool story. Rather than like a chosen one kind of story setup, you have something that feels a little bit more earned, something that feels a little bit more earnest, so that feels a little bit more grounded. Whereas when you first meet Master Chief in the original trilogy, he's pretty much already the best of the best, right? His lore, his background, everything kind of points to him being the chosen one already. So it could be cool to have a reboot. Now, final part I'll touch on is a lot of people have said like because of this Unreal Engine 5 pivot, this game is coming to PlayStation 5. Listen, I will not disagree to PlayStation 5 or 6 or whatever. Like these guys are probably going to take 10 years to make it. I will not disagree with anyone thinking that this game will be shipped on PlayStation, even day one. I'm not going to disagree. What I'm going to say is that I hope that it is not. Okay? Not because I'm trying to be stubborn or deny reality, but because I truly believe that segregation is a good thing in the console space. It's good for different platforms to have different exclusives, to have different identities. It's good for these creatives to, have different experiences, even behind the process of making the games. If you take a look at some of the developers that we know and love, and we know their names personally and everything, these are developers that quite often have worked across different brands, across different studios, across different like technological levels and and everything. And that's what then helps them make kind of like their magnus opus. It's good if not everyone is on Unreal Engine. It's good if not everyone is doing things the way Sony likes to do things. It's good if not everyone is working on a live service. It's good for the talent pool. It's good for the market. It's good for the art form. It's good for the medium. So I really do believe that, on the consumer facing side, exclusivity engenders more of that. It is good for people to have exclusives. It's good for people to find their voice, their place, their environment, their space. Some people really hate the way that Sony likes to structure its games. They see commonalities between Sony games that they really do not like, they do not prefer. For a lot of them, it's the camera angle that, the third party angle that Sony chooses to have. For a lot of them, it might be the photorealistic graphics. For a lot of them, it might be the lack of like shooting with guns, kind of like as a prevalent thing that Sony does in most of the games. Yes, we have Days Gone where you shoot guns, but for the most part, I would say that we don't really have a lot of gun shooting games coming out of PlayStation first party. Whereas if you take a look at the other side of Xbox, especially once you include Activision, lots of guns and everything like that. So again, it's good for people to have different things to rally behind, both on the creative side and on the client side. So I want Xbox to turn the clock back, to reverse direction once again. They've done it so many times. What's one more? Especially if this is going in the right direction. To put a focus on the exclusives, to keep those things exclusives forever, not just for a time frame, and to actually bring something to the market that benefits all of us gamers. Again, I don't believe in this whole notion of like, oh, we need Xbox to keep Sony in check. No, we don't need that. The market keeps Sony in check. The market keeps Xbox in check. Okay? But we do need creatives to have different avenues to be able to develop themselves, you know, like we otherwise the medium kind of either homogenizes too much or it dies, you know. So we need mutations. We need different, you know, avenues for things to go, and that's how we keep a healthy medium. Anyways, this has been a nearly 2-hour presentation. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. I'm sorry I didn't post earlier, but today I actually felt energized to post. I actually felt it in my bones. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have a good time doing it. I hope that you've enjoyed yourself, because this is the whole 2-hour launch sandwich thing. So you let me know. You let me know what you think. I think we did almost an hour talking about PlayStation stuff, nearly an hour talking about Xbox stuff. So we kept a well-balanced diet, you know. And nothing else matters. I'm not going to talk about Nintendo stuff until the Switch 2 is pretty much announced, because that would be interesting to see what they do. And I'm not going to talk about PC stuff because, you know, PC just, I mean, it's just irrelevant. That's what it is. But yeah, anyways, y'all have a good time. Y'all have a fun one. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the things that you do. Enjoy gaming. Read a book once in a while. And if I can recommend a book, The Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. You will like it. It's super fantasy, not sci-fi at all. I know we'll be talking a lot about sci-fi, but it's fantasy instead. And it's high fantasy. You'll like it. It's great.